ADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar and Accra. Good evening and welcome to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online at wadr.org. First, our top stories. Fresh violence in Nigeria's Plateau State, barely 24 hours after President Tinubu's visit. Ghanaian President Mahama announces a landmark policy granting visa-free entry to all African citizens starting May 25. Uncertainty grips Niamey as Mohamed Bazoum's term expires while in detention.
Mohamed Bazoum remains the legitimate president of Niger as long as he has not resigned and as long as the people of Niger have not democratically elected a new president.
Prosecution seeks 5-year prison sentence for former Guinean Prime Minister Kasore Fofana over alleged embezzlement. Please stay with us for details of these stories and more.
On the news, this is Augustine Bill Coley.
Many thanks for joining us. Newslink begins in Nigeria, where the security situation is not getting any better, despite assurances from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Earlier today, violence erupted in the north to central state of Plateau, barely 24 hours after President Tinubu visited Jos, following recent deadly attacks that claimed at least 30 lives. As many as 20 others sustained gunshot wounds, while houses and shops were touched. Today's violence raises fresh concerns over the fragile security situation in the region, casting doubt on efforts to restore peace after the president's high-level intervention. From Abuja, Yechenu Sasetu reports.
Barely 24 hours after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu visited Jos to reassure residents following recent deadly attacks, fresh violence has again been reported in Plateau State. The fresh attack occurred in the early hours of Friday in Riom local government area of Plateau State, where a 51-year-old man was killed by suspected attackers. According to local sources, the incident took place in Jol community, with residents describing it as a setback to ongoing peace efforts. The killing comes just hours after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu visited Jos and reassured residents that such attacks would not recur. Authorities say security operatives have begun investigations and are working to track down those responsible. Residents in Jos and others with family members in the area say they remain worried about the situation, calling for stronger and sustained security presence.
Around me, people moving around, people are buying and selling, preparing for Easter. Even with that, you could see that people are still afraid because rumor has it that more attacks should be expected.
I think it's very, very embarrassing.
Imagine killings here and there, plateau of our own. This is really bad.
All what we want, government should stand up and deal with these people.
Abacha once said that if insurgency lasts for more than 24 hours, the government is involved. These people know these terrorists.
Community leaders have also condemned the attack, urging authorities to act swiftly to prevent further violence and restore confidence among residents. The attack highlights ongoing security challenges despite increased attention from both state and federal authorities. For WADR, Yechenu Sasetu reporting.
Away from Nigeria, Ghana has announced plans to open its borders to all African passport holders through a free online visa system. Accra says the measure, which is set to take effect on Africa Day, March 25, 2026, marks a shift towards continental integration. President John Dramani Mahama announced during the state visit of Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa, forming it as a boost to tourism, intra-African trade and continental unity under the AU's Agenda 2063. While widely welcome as a bold step forward, the initiative also raises important questions about implementation, security and infrastructure readiness. Veronique Njai has the details.
The new policy removes both the cost and many of the bureaucratic hurdles that have long restricted travel. Ghana now joins the League of African Nations like Benin, the Gambia, Burkina Faso and Rwanda, which all offer a near-total openness to fellow AU member states. Benin has long allowed visa-free entry for all African citizens, strengthening cross-border trade, cultural exchanges and people-to-people ties in the sub-region. The Gambia declared itself a visa-free zone for Africans as back as 2019, boosting its tourism and positioning the country as a welcoming gateway in West Africa. In the Central Sahel region, Burkina Faso recently scrapped visa fees for all African travelers while maintaining an online application process aiming to facilitate easier movement of people and goods in the region. Elsewhere in East Africa, Rwanda introduced a similar policy in 2023. Following the adoption, the country recorded about 1.48 million visitors in 2024, generating roughly $647 million in tourism revenue with strong growth from regional travelers. For Ghana, the benefits could be significant. However, concerns have been raised about national security, potential overstays and pressure on infrastructure. If well managed, experts say Ghana's decision could inspire wider adoption and mark real progress toward a more united and prosperous continent.
Veronique Njai reporting there. Still on bilateral developments, the Ivorian Minister of African Integration, Adam Dosso, is in Turkey this week to bolster economic relations between Ankara and Abidjan. Minister Dosso has held high-level talks with Turkish private sector actors aimed at increasing investment flows into Cote d'Ivoire's emerging markets. Usma Umra has more details in this report.
The Ivorian Ministry of African Integration and Ivorians Abroad met with the Turkish Vice Minister of Trade. The discussions focused on perspectives for diversifying trade, promoting investment, and strengthening collaboration between the private sectors of the two countries. Both parties also examined opportunities for cooperation in several sectors deemed strategic within a context marked by an increase in trade between Ankara and Abidjan. Adams Dosso also held discussions with officials from the Turkey-Cote d'Ivoire Business Council. This is a platform dedicated to the promotion of economic relations between the two countries. These meetings allowed for exchanges with Turkish economic operators on investment opportunities in Cote d'Ivoire and on the conditions for strengthening the presence of Turkish companies in key sectors. This Ivorian visit to Turkey is part of the consolidation of strategic economic partnership with Turkey to promote Cote d'Ivoire preferred destination for foreign investment. Note that Ankara is increasingly present in West Africa. It cooperates with several countries and stakeholders in various fields such as trade, construction, security and energy.
Usma Umar with a report filed by Maser Ariston Bled from Abidjan.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Now in Niger, the political atmosphere is tense as the 5-year constitutional mandate of ousted President Mohamed Bazoum officially expired on Thursday. Despite nearly 3 years in junta custody and immense pressure to resign, Bazoum has refused to step down, leaving the military authorities with a diplomatic dilemma regarding his continued detention. Abdullahi Hassan brings us details in this report.
Since the July 2023 coup, Mohamed Bazoum and his wife have been held by the military in an undisclosed location. His last public appearance was nearly 3 years ago, shortly after his arrest during an ECOWAS mediation mission in Niamey. Despite his term officially expiring this week, his supporters maintain that he remains the only legitimate president of Niger until new elections are held and a successor is democratically elected. He remains the president in the eyes of the law, says Tahiru Garba, a member of the G25, a movement advocating for Bazoum's immediate release.
Mohamed Bazoum remains the legitimate president of Niger as long as he has not resigned and as long as the people of Niger have not democratically elected a new president. To this day, as I speak to you, everyone knows that Mohamed Bazoum has not tendered his resignation.
Conversely, supporters of the military government argue that the Bazoum era is over They insist his fate now rests solely with the judiciary as he faces charges of high treason. Pro-junta groups have dismissed international calls for his release, arguing that he must face Nigerian justice. Bana Ibrahim, a member of the CCR, Niger's transitional parliament, echoes this sentiment.
In Niger, we allow ourselves to be given injunctions, ignoring that the executive, the government they speak of, has no influence over the judicial calendar and cannot give injunction to judges. So, this is a serious violation of the sovereignty of a state, Niger in particular.
The ongoing detention remains a point of international friction. Beyond African intellectuals and civil society, bodies including ECOWAS, the African Union and the European Parliament have repeatedly called for Bazoum's unconditional release and the restoration of constitutional order in Niger.
Akuba Habibulai's report from Niamey voiced by Abdullahi Hassan. Elsewhere in Guinea, the appeal trial for former Prime Minister Ibrahim Kassory Fofana has reached a turning point. Prosecutors who are before the Specialized Anti-Corruption Court are moving to uphold a 5-year prison sentence for embezzlement and illicit enrichment, while the defense continues to argue for an acquittal based on procedural flaws. Imo Edit tells us more.
During the hearing, the Special Prosecutor's Office requested the court to uphold all provisions of the lower court's conviction. Additionally, the state has requested 20 billion Guinean francs in damages, characterizing the appeal as abuse. Civil party lawyers maintained that as in the first trial, the former prime minister failed to justify the use of 15 billion Guinean francs intended for the Mamri project, which he managed. They further alleged that Fofana reposited significant sums across multiple bank accounts. The prosecution team highlighted a stark discrepancy between Fofana's estimated monthly salary of 15 million Guinean francs and the substantial balances found in his accounts, presenting this as clear evidence of illicit enrichment. Conversely, the defense team called for a total reversal of the judgment. They contested the State Inspector General's report, labeling it irregular and biased. Furthermore, they raised concerns regarding their client's deteriorating health, arguing that he is unfit for prolonged detention. Following the conclusion of oral arguments, the court announced that the final verdict in the appeal of Ibrahim Kassory Fofana will be delivered on April 30.
Imo Edit with the details of Chano Alpha Ibrahim Mbaldet's report from Conakry. Now to the Gambia, the National Assembly Authority is holding a 3-day strategic retreat in Banjul to sharpen the legislature's focus on oversight and institutional effectiveness. The meeting, which began on Thursday, comes at a time of heightened political scrutiny over the accountability of elected representatives in the country. From Banjul, Sandona Mendy reports.
The retreat, chaired by Speaker Fabakary Tombong Jatta, brings together the top leadership of the National Assembly at a time when the institution is pursuing reforms aimed at improving efficiency, transparency, and public trust. Over the next days, members will set priorities for the upcoming sittings, assess past performance, and track progress on the Assembly's 2025 to 2029 strategic plan. Opening the retreat, Speaker Jatta described the gathering as a critical moment to recalibrate the Assembly's administrative machinery. He stressed the need for a professional and responsive parliamentary service capable of meeting the demands of modern governance.
It's our solemn duty to ensure that the administrative machinery supporting our constitutional functions, the National Assembly Service, is robust, professionalized, and fully equipped to meet the evolving demands of our governance architecture.
The clerk of the National Assembly, Khalifa M. Bay, says the retreat also provides an opportunity to scrutinize and validate key administrative frameworks developed in the recent months. He notes that without clear legal and institutional foundation, reform efforts risk losing direction.
Your role in providing strategic direction and supervision remains the cornerstone of our institutional integrity. These reforms can only attain legitimacy and institutional force through your technical scrutiny and formal ratification.
By the close of the retreat, the authority is expected to adopt a functional review and job analysis report alongside revised schemes of service. These measures are aimed at redefining rules, strengthening accountability, and setting new standards for parliamentary administrations. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sangdana Mendy, reporting from Banjul.
You are listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal, and around the world on social media and WDR application. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Fresh violence in Nigeria's Plateau State, barely 24 hours after President Tinubu's visit. Ghanaian President Mahama announces a landmark policy granting visa-free entry to all African citizens starting May 25. Uncertainty grips Niamey as Mohamed Bazoum's term expires. Why in detention? Prosecution seeks a 5-year prison sentence for former Guinean Prime Minister Kasoro Fofana over alleged embezzlement. Still ahead in the news, we have guest interview and sports news. So please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for being with us. We are streaming live on YouTube at WADR and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Here in Senegal, a major drug trafficking network has been dismantled by the Brigade of Research and Surveillance of Dakar. The operation took place on March 31, 2026, targeting a distribution network of cannabis operating between Chauri, Kunu, and Gejawai. Sankula Janko completes the story.
According to a police statement, the intervention followed intelligence reporting an imminent delivery in the Dakar suburbs. A suspect vehicle was spotted in Charoy-Solmer near the city hall. Security forces then deployed a surveillance operation combining physical tracking and drone monitoring, allowing them to follow the suspect's movements in real time. The statement reveals that around 8:30 p.m., officers arrested the driver and the main suspect as they attempted to take possession of the vehicle. During the search operations, the officers seized 254 kilograms of cannabis packaged in several bundles in the vehicle. Investigations later extended to Kunun, where a woman believed to be awaiting part of the shipment was apprehended. Following a search of her home, officers discovered jewelry and 1,500,000 CFA francs. In Gejawai at City Alionso, a search of the main suspect's residence uncovered 3 million CFA francs, along with administrative documents, including a land-related record. The 3 suspects are now in police custody with legal counsel. They face charges including criminal association, drug possession and trafficking, complicity and money laundering. Authorities say investigations are ongoing to uncover more illicit financial activities in the country.
Sankula Janko reporting there.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is a guest.
The guest interview focuses on Nigeria, particularly Jos Plateau State, where recent attacks claim dozens of lives. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu visited the area on Thursday to assess the security situation firsthand. The president also made some promises to end the frequent wave of attacks in the area. But are those promises realistic given the state of security in Nigeria? Our guest is Rocha Kumot, a public affairs analyst in Nigeria who shares his analysis of the situation.
Yeah, I think it is timely. And as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, there will be no one fitting to comfort the people as the president. So he came to speak with key stakeholders. And that is why the entirety of selected former governors, former National Assembly members, and even serving National Assembly members, the chairman of the ruling party, All Progressive Congress, who happens to come from Plateau, also attended. So I think it was a needed time for reflection.
What could be the major problem in Jos? Because this recent incident is not the first of its kind.
Yes, if you picked up the line of His Excellency Jonah David Jang, who is a retired Brigadier General in the military, no, he's a former governor, not the immediate past, spoke very frankly to the president. Yes, this thing is not just something that is happening now to this government. It has happened when Governor Joshua Chibidare was governor from 1999 to 2003. It happened with even His Excellency Jonah David Jang, who also took over from Dare, and happened at the reign of Governor Simon Bakola Long, who is now senator in the National Assembly, and it's happening now with His Excellency Barrister Caleb Manasseh Mutfan. So I think far from it, it will not be a matter of failure of governance. I think there are a selected few that are interested in destabilizing the state for reasons best known to them. But I think one can also suspect political undertones in this manner, because we have seen politics bells are beginning to ring, and politicians are speaking hate languages here and there, and I think that would not be far-fetched. And don't also forget that we also have the issues of the farmers herders clash, and the rains just dropped. Fortunately, that Sunday was all day. There was long rains, and that would not be out of it too. That they want our people scared so that they don't go to farms.
What is the state of security in Plateau State? Is it because of limited security manpower, or they are overwhelmed by maybe bandits or terrorists?
You've gotten it very right. It is about the insufficiency of the security architecture to man the country and indeed to man the state. Fortunately, His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, started a discussion of the state policing, and some of us have advocated that for years and years, and thank God this discussion cannot come any better than now. So truly, the police is understaffed. The military is overwhelmed with what is happening in the northeastern part of the country, and even all around the country, checkpoints here and there. So it's stretched to the limit that they cannot be able to do rapid response in the real sense of the words rapid response.
Why in Jos on yesterday? Why in Jos on Thursday? President Tinubu promised the installation of 5,000 CC cameras in Jos Plateau State. What about other local government areas? And as a public affairs analyst, do you think this will in fact help to solve the problem?
Yes, it will. It is. It's better than nothing at all. It might not be sufficient, but I think it is a niche in time, which it will help in terms of in terms of getting information, and it is better they understand the psyche, the runnings of these criminals, so that they can prevent this kind of things than to put us in a position where it has already happened, then we'll begin to. So I think this will provide the security apparatus with the necessary information needed to tackle some of these things before it does happen.
Gotcha Gomot is a public affairs analyst in Nigeria. Now in sports, the Sierra Leone Football Association has parted ways with head coach Mohamed Kalon of the Leon Stars with immediate effect. The decision follows what the FA described as a review of the team's technical and strategic direction. Despite the change, there is a boost for the national side as Sierra Leone climbed the 119th place in the latest FIFA ranking after their outing in Azerbaijan. The Leon Star will now look to build momentum ahead of the 2027 AFCON qualifiers later this year. And the Ivorian Football Federation has issued a lifetime ban on Referee Bru Eba Seges after finding him guilty of serious corruption. According to the federation, the referee approached club officials promising favorable results in exchange for money and threatening defeats if his demands were not met. The case was exposed by Real FC, whose general secretary submitted an audio recording that provided clear evidence of attempted blackmail. In response, the federation barred the referee from officiating and getting involved with match officials. Authorities say the decision is aimed at restoring integrity and sending a clear message that corruption will not be tolerated in Ivorian football. And that's the latest in the world of sports. That brings us to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal on 94.9 FM and online at wadr.org. Thank you for listening. Many thanks to Mustafa Sek and Maud Ju for the technical support. To interact with us via our social media platforms, X, Instagram and Facebook at WADR English. I am Augustine Curley. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Radio Bath FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your